Welcome back. All right, so some news of the day for all you fine people on the internet for your Thursday, March the 14th. Almost the Ides of March. All right, so first off, we'll start with the update from Arizona that we expected. So this is the next step along the way. The Arizona State Land Board of Appeals has approved the application for that parcel of land in Northeast Phoenix. That's where they want to build it, and the land auction is yet to come. The plan is, again, about 10 weeks, so looking at like June. And we'll see. We'll see how this all ends up playing out. But again, the schedule for next year comes out usually early July or late June, and so yeah, it'll be mullet next year for at the very least. And we'll see what happens from there. All the expansion rumors and everything, I think, are still hinging on what happens with Arizona. So that'll hold everything up. Pittsburgh news of sorts. So Erik Karlsson, there's rumors been going around about whether or not he might end up back in Ottawa. I just found that curious. I mean, I wouldn't mind Karlsson going back to Ottawa. I think that'd be kind of fun on some level, but at the same time, I don't know that it makes a lot of sense. I don't know that Karlsson's what that team needs right now on the blue line. You look at the contract, you look at his age and everything. I'm not sure that it works, but the media asked Karlsson about it. Karlsson's response, he doesn't mince words. The one quote I wanted to grab from this is, they've got a lot of things to talk about every day because they have a lot of time to fill, but they have very few things to actually discuss. Meaning there's not a lot happening, so they kind of have to fill 2 to 3 hours a day, whatever podcast, whatever show, and rumors will get you through a 20-minute spot. I've heard it. There are times where, Yvonne and I are going to Vancouver or heading down to Seattle or whatever we're doing, and I put on the NHL radio, and there's times I listen to them speculating, and I'll say out loud to Yvonne, I don't know what they're talking about. I feel bad for her on those trips because then she's hearing all the hockey stuff while we're traveling. But there's times where I'm thinking, yeah, they're definitely adding and filling time because you got to talk about something, and what they're talking about may not actually make a lot of sense, but it's about filling time, and it's usually wild speculation of, oh, I think this guy's going well. He'd be a good fit in this. Well, why shouldn't they trade him too? And then before you know it, it's a full blown rumor potentially, depending on who said it. But yeah, I think he's got a good point there. I know with podcasts you got to fill up your time, and trade rumors or something that's going to get people to click, to listen, to watch, all that fun stuff. So he's not wrong. But yeah, he's talking about Canadian sports media, the whole rumors he could be traded back to the Sens, and just his attitude towards this. I don't think he wants to go back to Ottawa. I don't know if he'd want to play for a Canadian team, but at any rate, at this point he's in Pittsburgh. I don't see any reason to think Pittsburgh's going to move him. I don't think it'd be easy for them to move him either, with the salary cap going up and everything. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with him this summer. Pittsburgh's definitely going to have to go through some changes. If you were going to attend the Yager bobblehead giveaway that they're going to have, it's been delayed because the bobbleheads have been stolen. I'm not sure why somebody would steal. I'm assuming this is bobbleheads potentially in the thousands, because normally they give them away in the thousands. I've got my Paul Correa here that I got from the Ducks, which is a nice little bobblehead, and they had a box of them, and I was like, hey, can I have a Paul Correa bobblehead? Sure. So and I'm going to say this, I do think that they have more giveaways for American teams than they do for Canadian teams. Feels like there's giveaways all the time for the US-based teams, and for the Canadian teams, you get to enjoy sitting in your seat and be quiet. And that's about it. It just feels like that's a difference. Like when I'm at games in the States, it definitely feels like a different experience. You guys can let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section. I know we do have bobblehead nights in Canadian games too. It just feels like it's a lot less frequent, that there's more fun giveaways at the American games. Although we have a lot bigger 50-50 draws in Canada, but that's driven by us. So we're spending that money, not the team. Anyways, so bobbleheads, that's been delayed now. And I would imagine when you don't have the bobbleheads, it's difficult to have the giveaway. So if you took them, why? Where are you? We got 5,000 bobbleheads to go where with? Because if you show up at a collectible store and say, hey, I got 5,000 Yager bobbleheads, are you interested? They're going to get suspicious. All right, it's not a smart thing to thieve. It's just not. It's a bad idea. All right, Bobby McMann signed a contract extension with the Toronto Maple Leafs yesterday. It's worth $1.35 million per season. I think McMahon's done a really good job of getting himself a raise based on how he's played over the last couple of months. I think he's absolutely worth it. And good on him. You know, player who came up, there wasn't a lot of hype around him before he reached the NHL. Wasn't all that much hype about him coming into this season, but he's proven he's a very effective forward for Toronto. And now he's got some job security with the 2-year extension in place now for him with the Leafs. Minnesota news, there's good and bad news. I'll go with the bad news first. Erik Karlsson out tonight with an undisclosed injury. We are at that time of year where they become undisclosed injuries, and I don't know, was he not on the team? I don't know what happened. We were pretty sure he was going to be at warm-ups. Kuznetsov, though, is set to debut tonight, and in practice, he was centering the third line. So it looks like he's playing tonight. Looks like he'll play a relatively prominent role. With Erik Karlsson out of the lineup, we'll see how he does. It should be an interesting game between them and Anaheim. So if you're going to debut a guy, debuting him against Anaheim makes some sense. And so with so many games on at once tonight, I'll watch what I can. Yeah, there's going to be 11 games on at the same time. So I'll have to pick and choose. And when it's Anaheim and Minnesota and they're both outside of the playoffs, it makes it difficult because there's so many other matchups between teams that are in the playoffs. And obviously I'm going to give them more attention. Detroit. So the fight at practice. And I do think these can get overblown. And I think that's kind of what's happening here. So fights at practice will occur between players on teams that are struggling. It's very, very rare we see fights between players on teams that are winning. And my theory about this has always been there's guys in the locker room you don't really like, and you can tolerate their hijinks when the team's winning. But when they're losing, the guy who irritates you a little more. Or you have a shorter temper because you're tired of losing. So I understand these fights at practice, but I've heard numerous reports like, okay, so is this going to be Detroit's like 2019 moment that St. Louis had, where you have a fight in practice and things turn around after that, which was between Bortuzzo and Sanford. I don't know. I don't know if this is going to help turn things around for Detroit. I think if at this point in the season you need extra motivation, I think that's more troubling than anything else. I think you should be motivated by where your team is in the standings. Looking at the team you're playing against and wanting to get the victory against them and wanting to play in the playoffs should be enough motivation. But if the fight helps turn things around and galvanizes the team somehow, we'll see. And of course, players afterwards are going to say, oh yeah, there's no bad blood. They're not actually going to admit it. They're not going to admit if they really don't like the guy. It's one of those things where I don't understand why the media asks the question, just like I'm not sure why you ask Karlsson if he's going back to Ottawa. What is he going to say? Oh, yeah, no, I just waived it. I'm going there in July. Like, why would you tell people that? So let me know your thoughts. Do you think this is going to help spur a turnaround for Detroit? Or it's just a fight at practice? It's not a big deal. Nashville's point streak hit 13 with that impressive win last night in Winnipeg. Nashville is a dangerous team I would not want to see playing against a team I root for in the playoffs, and it could happen. They could very well end up against Vancouver in that first round. And right now with the way Nashville is playing, and even though I know Vancouver's handled Nashville pretty well, that was before Nashville got onto the run they're on right now. So we'll see how things shake down and who ends up getting that number 1 and number 2 wildcard spot. But yeah, Nashville looks pretty good, and not only that, but if they keep winning like this, maybe they could reel in a Winnipeg or a Dallas or a Colorado. There's a pretty tightly bunched top 3 there, but with Nashville getting points every single game, they're getting into that conversation. Jake Allen is set to debut tonight for the New Jersey Devils in Dallas, a Devils team that will be without John Marino, who looks like he's just day-to-day. So Jake Allen had to go through the visa process. Now he's got that all straightened out. He's going to play for the Devils, and we'll see how well he plays now that he'll be in a situation where it's not a 3-goalie rotation, with Dawes and Schmid being sent down, and them going with Kakin and Allen from here. So the Devils are 6 points out of the playoffs. Their odds of making the playoffs are not great, but I mean, until you're mathematically eliminated, you should be going for it. And on the Dallas side of that game, Sagan won't be playing tonight. Word has it he could return towards the end of the 5-game homestand. So that towards the end to me doesn't say Saturday. Saturday is their next game after tonight. So that would either be Wednesday when they're at home against Arizona, or Friday, the 22nd of March, when they're at home against Pittsburgh. One of those two. But yeah, so for Dallas, they have New Jersey tonight. They again to end out that road the homestand. They have Arizona and Pittsburgh. It's not a really rough schedule for them. We'll see if Dallas can get on a bit of a run here, and getting Sagan back could absolutely help. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event that you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.